Hi guys, it's Mark. So there's only one difference between me now as a 54-year-old multimillionaire and when I was a bright-eyed 18-year-old. And that difference is, I'm not ginger anymore. But seriously, the difference is, of course, knowledge. Just think, if I'd have known more when I was younger, imagine what else I could have achieved. That brings me to this video. My aim today is to package up my 35 plus years of life experience so that you can make more money than I ever dreamed of. Make sure to watch this video until the end because I wish I could have seen this when I was younger. On the surface, some of these lessons might not seem directly linked to making money. However, as I've gotten older, and a bit grayer, I found that implementing these things helped me accelerate my net worth quicker than any investing tip ever could. So don't forget to smash that like button and let's jump right into this. Firstly, don't be scared to fail. You may have tried a lot of things in the past that haven't worked out, but you never know when success is going to strike. It could be literally just around the corner. I put off social media for a long time as I prefer to talk to people in person, and to be honest, maybe I was a little bit scared that no one would want to listen to a boomer like me. When the lockdown of 2020 hit, my son Curtis finally managed to persuade me to put myself out there as he thought I had a lot to offer. The first video I posted on YouTube got 10 views within the first day and it looked like my channel wasn't going to succeed. But we didn't let this deter us and decided to start TikTok to bring more attention to the channel. This was even more scary than YouTube as the audience is fairly young and I didn't want to do any of that dancing. Well, maybe just a little bit. If there's one thing that this situation taught me is that even if you fail at first, it's all about picking yourself up and trying again. Failure is inevitable if you push yourself out of your comfort zone. It's as simple as that. It's important to remember that failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. And if you never try or give up after one failure, you'll never fulfill your potential. Tip number 2 is to never use a debit card. You've probably been told the opposite and to never use a credit card. However, that advice could actually damage your future net worth. This is because using a credit card is fantastic for payment protection and building a strong credit score, which will allow you to borrow more money in the future at better rates. For example, if you have $100,000 and a good credit score, instead of buying one rental property, you may be able to buy 2. Also, I'm sure we've all ordered something online before that hasn't arrived. The payment protection on credit cards can help with that, as it's a lot easier to get a full refund on a credit card than on a debit card. Now I understand why people are wary of credit cards. After all, 54% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck and nearly 40% of high earners, that's those earning more than $100,000 annually, said they also live this way. However, I firmly believe if you use them correctly, then they have far more benefits than drawbacks. I spend a lot of money running my businesses and I always make sure to use my credit cards. As long as I pay these off in full at the end of each month, then I pay no interest. This of course helps build my credit score, but it also gives me great reward points. I've redeemed these points for a staggering amount of free flights. The one that really sticks with me though is when I took my family on a first-class trip to Florida because Curtis really wanted to go and see Mickey Mouse. You may think this sounds a bit too good to be true, but the main reason credit cards can offer these great benefits is because not everyone pays their balance off in full each month, which means they can charge interest. So if you're an erratic spender or don't trust yourself with money, then a credit card is probably not for you. But if you're prepared to use it wisely and max out the rewards and not the balance, then you're onto a winner. Point number 3 is to always make connections. Something my mentor taught me very early on is your network is your net worth. And let me tell you, this is so true. If you've got Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates in your phone contacts, you could take over the world. Hi Elon. Yeah mate. Yeah, you can go out and play with your rockets today. I've benefited a lot from my network over the years. One of the first things that comes to mind was back in the early days of my model shop. We used to have a customer who was a big spender, but particularly abusive to my staff. Now, I always put my staff's well-being above profits, as they shouldn't have to deal with any kind of abuse at work. So I decided to make the hard decision to ban him from the shop. As you can imagine, he wasn't very happy about that, and he vowed to take me down. He offered some of my staff a big wage increase to tempt them away from my shop, and a couple of them took the bait. He established a model shop of his own with the sole target of putting me out of business.
All of the customers and profits will be mine, all mine.
To cut a long story short, he was open for around 9 years and lost over $1 million in the process. I never blame my staff for leaving, as I understand why they would be tempted by a wage increase, so I always maintained a strong friendship with one of them in particular. He always remembered me as a fair boss and was kind enough to contact me with some juicy news about the business going under. Him letting me know allowed me to swoop in and purchase the business and all its stock for an absolute steal of a price. This just goes to show it's not worth burning a bridge through temporary anger. Building strong connections in your life is so important, as it gives you options, advice, valid opinions, and also constructive criticism from people who actually know what they're talking about. Next up is developing passive income. I couldn't make this video without talking about passive income. I know it's a real buzzword, but it's just so important. Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, said, "If you don't find a way to make money while you're asleep, then you'll work till you die." I can't stress enough how important passive income is. It's one of the things that made me a millionaire in my early 20s. Looking back, I still remember the first time I made some passive income. It was during the dot-com bubble. I invested money into a stock, and let me tell you, it was losing money big time. I was so scared and nearly sold the entire position for a huge loss. But as I'd already lost so much, I thought, I may as well wait an extra week. I'm so glad I held on, because when I checked my account the following week, I hadn't just 10x'd it, I'd 13x'd my money. This ended up being more profit than my business generated in a whole year. Of course, this was during crazy times and it could have quite easily gone the opposite way. But the point is, I made a year's salary doing absolutely nothing, and that's what passive income is all about. The key is to find a way for your money to make money, but in reality it's a little bit more complicated than that, and almost always requires a bit of work every now and then. So I do always like to say, no income is truly passive. Passive income can range from anything from stock market investing to drop shipping. Multiplying your money and making money while you're asleep is crucial when trying to become a millionaire. Every day you sit on the fence debating where to put your money could have been making you money. Waiting to invest is costing you a fortune. A great way to get started is to pick up your free stock from public.com worth all the way up to $1,000 if you're in the USA, and $10 worth of free Bitcoin from Coinbase. I'll leave those links below. Just remember, with investing, your capital is at risk. Point number 5, no one wins an argument. People always say you don't have to win every argument, but if I'm being honest, no one wins an argument. If you think you won an argument, the chances are you just burnt a bridge, and you never know who knows who or where that person will be in 5 years. It links back to building connections. Not only do you have to build them, you need to maintain them. A few years back, I had a delivery of products arrive from China. When the shipment arrived, lots of the items were badly damaged. I contacted the supplier for a discount, and do you know how they helped me? By doing absolutely nothing. I was so angry. I wanted to say something I knew I'd regret, but I managed to bite my lip and move on. Unfortunately, this deal ended up costing me a lot of time and money, but funnily enough, a few years later, I bumped into the supplier at an event. He said he felt so bad about what had happened and offered me a container full of stock so cheap it was basically free. If I'd argued with this person, I would have burnt a bridge and never recouped my losses. This lesson really taught me a lot about avoiding arguments, and this doesn't just apply for business deals. Avoiding arguments can stop you getting into trouble at school, getting fired from your job, or even just as simple as improving your life at home with your parents. Next time you can feel yourself getting into an argument, ask yourself, is this really necessary? After all, no one wins an argument. Number 6 is, if you don't ask, you don't get. This is a pretty famous saying, and let's be honest, it's so true. Whether you're in a shop bartering, asking for a pay rise, or just want some extra pocket money, if you don't ask, you quite simply don't get. In my early business days, I was finding it hard to compete with all the bigger companies in my area, and I had to find some sort of advantage. So I found a winning product range and decided to travel to California and ask for the exclusive rights to sell in the UK. With a lot of persuading, I managed to secure the contract. However, I didn't stop there. I decided to ask for the European exclusive rights, and to my amazement, they said yes, as they didn't have anyone in Europe selling their product range yet. This also helped me to dramatically increase my competitive edge and potential market. Learning this and building the confidence to just ask really can benefit you in the future. I know if I didn't ask for more, then I wouldn't be as successful as I am today.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
Number 7 is don't waste time hating. Your most valuable asset is your time. Therefore, the most dangerous risk of all is to waste it complaining about others and not making progress towards your dreams. Now, I learnt this years ago when I was dealing with a supplier in the USA. I'd ordered a lot of items which I needed as soon as possible, and he kept promising me that they were going to be arriving within the next week or so. Weeks became months, and slowly I started to lose faith in his ability to be able to deliver. I mean, nowadays most people get annoyed when their Amazon order takes more than a day to arrive, so you can imagine my frustration. Every day waiting was just another day my business couldn't sell these products and make profit, because you know me, I love a bit of profit. I could have wasted time hating and complaining about the service, but instead I decided to track down his original supplier in China. I was then able to get the items shipped directly to me and completely cut out the middleman. Later on, he actually let me know he was in a bit of financial trouble, but he was too embarrassed to tell me. Ever since he was honest with me, we've been great friends. This situation just proves that hating gets you nowhere. It's all about fixing the issues and moving forward towards your targets. Remember, when you get angry, your brain doesn't function at full capacity. There's a brilliant book called The Chimp Paradox, which calls this the chimp part of your brain. When the chimp is in control, you aren't able to come up with effective solutions to the problems you're facing. How's anyone going to take you seriously behaving like this? Tip 8 is after each disaster, ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? We've definitely all been there when something goes wrong and it's the absolute end of the world. It can be anything, an issue at school, your girlfriend dumped you, or maybe you totaled your favourite car. The 5-year rule really helps me get through temporary pain. I'm having some major renovations done at my house at the moment, and there have been several mini disasters that have been getting me really frustrated, like the roof not being finished properly and the wrong doors being fitted. We can spend so much time stressing and worrying about things we can't change, but I always like to look at it like this. If it won't matter in 5 years, why does it really matter now? Emotion is temporary, and it's important to let time do its thing. Your haters love when this happens, so don't let them have the satisfaction. Number 9 is work smarter, not harder. The world is full of hard workers that aren't very successful. It's all about focusing that hard work in a smart direction. This is something I unfortunately didn't realise until a bit later on in life. I worked too hard for the first 4 years or so of being in business. This led to me making myself a little bit ill and losing most of my social network. When starting out in any career, it's so easy to get caught up trying to do everything yourself, but that is the definition of working too hard and not smart. I was able to concentrate on the areas that I excelled at, make much better decisions on a more consistent basis, and spend more time with my family. A great example of working smarter and not harder would be having a side hustle like drop shipping. This is when you let other people handle all the manual labour while you're somewhere else on your laptop, maybe on a beach, sipping a cocktail. Point number 10, the best time to start is now. Every year people set New Year's resolutions, but I've got to be honest, I've never believed in any of that. There is absolutely no better time to start than now. Just think, every day you're not doing it, someone else is, and that's only leaving you further behind. Whether that's a new business plan, leaving your job, or something as simple as I'll start investing next year. The best time to get going is now. Before I started my business, I was in a steady job, but it wasn't paying very well. I was only managing to cover my expenses. With this income added to my side hustles, I was making a steady living but had very little time. I knew if I wanted to start a business, then I had to give up part of that stable income. However, I took the leap and started my business, and I'm so glad I did it then, because if I had waited a year or more, then I might have never made that jump. I knew the longer I left it, the harder it would become. I was young and the risk was nowhere near as big as it would have been if I had a family depending on my income. This has taught me to strike while the iron is hot, as this is a great way to beat procrastination. We've all been there when we just keep putting something off. even though we know it will be a great improvement to our lifestyle or future. I found a great way to beat procrastination is to tell myself I'm only going to do something for 5 minutes, and if I don't enjoy it, then I can stop. The beauty of this is that I very often just keep going, as the hardest part, getting started, is over. I've travelled to nearly all the countries in the world, competed for the British team, raced cars, been to the Monaco Grand Prix, become a pilot, worked on blockbuster films, skydived, started multi-million-dollar businesses and reached 1 million subscribers on YouTube. So just remember, the best is truly yet to come, and don't listen to anyone that tries to tell you otherwise. So I'm going to leave the next video right up there, but don't click on it just yet. Make sure to subscribe if you want to grow your wealth, and don't forget to pick up your free stocks and Bitcoin with the links below. Okay, I'll see you over there.